Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well and welcome back to Sea Power. Today we're having another look at submarines. It's a follow-on from a video we did a few days ago that was this: how dangerous are or were Russia's guided missile submarines to US surface fleets? We took the four available Soviet era, so 1960 to 1985 or maybe up to 1990, SSGN, so that's nuclear powered long-range missile firing submarines. We pitted them against a 1960s to 1980s US carrier group and we saw what kind of damage they could do, and it was quite scary. But you guys complained, and rightfully so. You said that I didn't do proper tactical defense from the US surface fleet. I used the SM-1 and SM-2 missiles as defense and the Sea Whiz, but nothing else. Not planes, not US submarines, and so on. And so today, that's what we're delving into, the other side. How could the surface fleet defend itself fully from this Soviet menace? And today we're going to simulate several options. Now, as you know, I'm very much learning about submarines at the moment and I'm really enjoying doing it. All of the things I'm learning at the moment are actually coming from you guys who are extremely knowledgeable, I'm finding. In fact, if I just go on this video here and I pause, I can see I have 486 comments from you guys, and they're not just small ones. A lot of the time they're massive comments, like several pages long, and I really appreciate those comments. And I've gone and read through all of these comments. It took like 3 hours, but it was really interesting and I learned loads of stuff. And we're not going to go over all of that stuff today, but we're going to go over some of it with regards to how the US surface fleet could defend itself from these Soviet SSGNs. So the first thing I got from you was the purpose of these SSGNs. They weren't really purposed to go out into the Atlantic and hunt US surface fleets. They were actually more of a defensive measure to protect the Barents Sea here and the Baltic Sea here from US surface fleet incursion. And so that's how we're going to use the Soviet SSGNs today. So today's role play is we're in the, let's say, mid-1970s. The Cold War has gone hot. The US have, unfortunately for them, decided to send a carrier group into the Baltic here, and currently they're positioned here. The Soviets, of course, are going to defend themselves using SSGNs. The SSGNs will try and fire at the US carrier group, and the US carrier group will try and defeat those SSGNs. So let's look at the general setup we've got today, and then we'll look at the defensive measures that we're going to try and use from the US. So as I said, the carrier fleet is here. It consists of 5 vessels, a 1970s spec Forrestal CV here. It also has 1960s, 70s cruisers, a Belknap here and a Belknap there, and 1960s and 70s ASW frigates, an Adams class and an Adams class there. On board they have all the usual stuff, so Tomcats, Intruders, Corsairs, ASW helicopters and so on. North of them by about 30 miles is a Russian Victor-class SSN, so a Soviet nuclear-powered attack sub. It's not there to attack the carrier fleet because the carrier fleet is very well defended against moderate-range submarines. Instead, it's basically sitting on the bottom of the ocean, not moving, being as quiet as it can, and it's listening passively to the US carrier group and trying to find out where they are, identify what types of ships they are, and of course transmit that information back to the SSGNs 200 miles away, which will be doing the firing. And that brings on the first of many interesting points today, and that is, how can a submarine listen to a surface fleet and determine what they are? Well, you guys tell me that obviously surface fleets make lots of noise. That noise transmits very well underwater for long distances. Part of peacetime preparation for warfare is that submarines and even clandestine surface vessels will deliberately sail close to hostile ships and record the sound they make, and they put that in their databanks, and that's how they can later use that to identify which ships they're hearing. Not only can they identify the type of ship, so a Forrestal class carrier here to an Adams frigate here, but sometimes even the actual hull number, because they all make slightly different sounds. That's absolutely fascinating. The surface ships can, of course, combat that as best they can by making themselves as quiet as they can. You guys tell me about the improvements to ships like the Oliver Hazard Perry, like the Tycho Cruiser, using the Prairie system to reduce the overall noise output. And even more inventive ways of sometimes ships changing their propellers between missions so that they deliberately sound different to how the Soviets would have thought they should have sounded. So loads of backwards and forwards information and misinformation to help detect and then disguise surface warfare ships. I guess the same applies to submarines as well. Anyway, back on topic. This guy sitting here at the bottom, he's making as little noise as possible and he's just listening. And he, of course, will identify this carrier fleet here. It will take a few minutes in game, but he'll figure out eventually that's a Belknap, that's a Belknap, that's an Adams, and that's a Forrestal, okay? He'll transmit the information back to the SSGNs over here, and he'll do that via, well, you guys say there's various ways of doing it. He could go to periscope depth and use his radio transmitters to send the information via either relays, via surface vessels, or up to satellite, although I'm not sure if that would have been relevant in the mid-70s. Either way, he's going to get the information of the carrier group's composition and position over to the SSGNs within time to have them fire their missiles. The SSGNs today will be 200 nautical miles away. So if the carrier group's there, that's 200 nautical miles away, that's 200 nautical miles away. Today I'm using Echo 2 class SSGNs. They, if you remember, are 1960s and obviously would have been a threat in the 1970s. Very quickly, just under 6,000 tons. And the weapon they fire are 8 SSN-3 Shaddocks or P-35 Progress, which have a range of over 200 nautical miles. That's the threat today. So 2 of them, 16 missiles they could fire in this attack. And we've seen the devastation they can do to carrier groups. So let's have a look now at how the US fleet could protect themselves from these Echo 2s. So in the previous video, we looked at the terminal defense of the carrier group, the SM-1s, the SM-2s, the Seawiz and whatnot. But today we're not interested in that. Today we're interested in the tactical defense. So trying to stop the threat before the missiles even get to the carrier group or reduce the threat. We're going to have a look at 5 different methods today, and these are all your ideas that came from the comments. Method 1 will be trailing subs. Method 2 will be Tomcat aerial defense. Method 3 will be UGM-84 Harpoons, and that's probably going to be the most interesting one, so stick around for that. 4, we're going to have a little look at anti-submarine warfare helicopters, and then we're going to have a look at anti-submarine warfare aircraft or fixed-wing planes. This isn't really pre-prepped, so we're just going to do it for the first time and see what happens. In terms of the tactical defense of the US, we have 2 E-2 Hawkeye up and patrolling. AWACS obviously, one there, each about 100 miles from the carrier. As well as that, we have submarines. You guys tell me that whenever a US CSG travels, it will usually have 1 or more submarines. In this case, it's going to have 3 submarines. I've chosen the SSN Sturgeon, a 1970s submarine. The Los Angeles was a bit late for this example. It's 4,500 tons. It has the Mark 48 active/passive sonar homing torpedoes, and it has the UGM-84 Harpoons. I've positioned them in front of the carrier group, obviously where the threat is going to be, and I've positioned them at 50 nautical mile intervals, one there, and one there. So 50, 100, and 150 nautical miles. And finally, we're going to have the trailing submarine. So you guys said the absolute best defense of stopping these SSGNs is just not to even let them fire in the first place. So another way of stopping them would be to have American SSNs quietly sitting outside the Soviet naval ports. The Soviet port we have here is east of Gdansk in Kaliningrad, and I think it's called the Baltilisk naval port. It's positioned about there. So the American subs will sit silently, and when the larger, noisier Soviet SSGNs leave the port, they'll basically shadow them, attach themselves several miles behind and shadow them. Now that would mean that the American submarine would have to be a lot quieter than the Soviet submarine, which you guys tell me is true most of the time. So the next question to you guys is, why were the American submarines quieter than the Soviet submarines? What is it about the submarine that makes so much noise, and how did the Americans overcome that? Anyway, that leads us on to our first scenario, which is the trailing subs attacking the Echo 2s before they even fire their missiles. So, in this case, as I said, they waited until the Echo 2s left port, whenever that was. They had specific ROE, so they knew exactly what to do in their pre-brief. They then trailed the Echo 2s when they determined that the Echo 2s might be a threat to the pre-planned US incursion here, i.e. the Echo 2s were starting to surface because they have to fire their long-range missiles from the surface. Then the American SSNs would have to make a snap decision at that point that they think the Echo 2s are going to fire their missiles, and then they would attack the Echo. So let's run that one first. A couple of other notes before we start, in fact, viewers, purely of interest. You guys have asked me to do my homework. The first thing is you want me to watch some movies. You want me to watch Hunt for the Red October, Das Boot, Greyhound, Crimson Tide, Hunter Killer, U-571 and Hostile Waters, all Hollywood movies. And I'm more than happy to do that, viewers. The only slight problem I have is that I have to watch movies with my wife. That's the only time I get a chance, and she has no interest in military warfare at all. So I need you guys to help find ways of sweetening the deal. There must be some sexy characters in there that I can try and sell to Alison. Anyway, here's the CSG. I'm going to unpause now. So the trailing subs are here, and they're just starting to identify. Well, actually, they've already identified the echoes because they're trailing them. So there's an echo there making 8 decibels, and there is an echo there making 9 decibels, and we can track where they're going. So we know they're starting to surface, and because of our pre-brief, we know that if they're about to surface, then they're going to be an imminent threat to our carrier incursion, so it's time to attack. So you guys just taught me how I could do this, by the way. If I go down here, I go for the Mark 48. We're about 7 miles behind. I don't know how far you would actually trail a real sub, so please let me know that. Well, you know, what range would be safe to be within reaction time but not be spotted. Mark 48, if you go right click there, you can say how many you want, and let's, why don't we just fire all the friggin' torpedoes there, and then there. Kaplunk. Also, what would be the chances that the Echo, because the Echo is going to be listening as well, what are the chances that the Echo might pick the Sturgeon up here? Alright, and let's get this guy. Might as well just fire all the torpedoes. Wrong one. Fire all the torpedoes as well. Also, when you right click here, and you choose here, it shows a little red line. I didn't realise that's obviously the range in the current parameter. So, again, thanks for you guys. I'm not the kind of guy that reads the manual, as you know, which gets me into all sorts of trouble. But all right, that's it. Now we have to wait for submarine warfare, which, as it turns out, takes forever. So we started the sim at 10 o'clock. And let's see how long these take to get there. I mean, it's one thing I'm learning, just how long submarine warfare takes. It's like hours rather than seconds, like with air combat. Mark 48 torpedo viewers, they all seem to use these. Why is that? Let me know what you know about the Mark 48 so we can learn about that together. How are they powered? They have either active, or sorry, they use a passive homing, I think, and then they turn to active homing. You know, they send pings out at a certain range. Have I got that right, viewers? Why was the Mark 48 so widely used? Interestingly, they've increased their decibel level, so maybe they've detected the torpedoes and they're starting to turn or starting to power up. Let me know what you think there. We've also learned how to tell how we're detecting the hostile. It says at the bottom there the miles, that's the miles between it and the closest thing that's detecting it, and that closest thing that's detecting it is in brackets there. S means sonar, so a sonar is detecting that thing and it's 4 miles away, probably the Sturgeon submarine or maybe even the torpedo. In fact, very likely the torpedo. Can torpedoes, viewers, go for the wrong target? Missiles, if they're what we call an active radar homing type of missile, which is quite similar to this, I suppose, can easily shoot the wrong baddie down because it just looks for a piece of metal in the sky and tracks that. Could that happen to a torpedo? What would the firing submarine do once it fired its torpedoes? Would it turn away, viewers? Like an aeroplane might do. Oh, hello. Noisemakers coming out. Still can't see it yet. Are the noisemakers going to... Oh! What's going on now? Okay, they've turned their active sonar homing on. Is that omnidirectional or is it only a certain angle? I think they've lost the submarine. Okay, they've literally lost the submarine. And they fired torpedoes at us! Oh shit, this is... Pause. This wasn't meant to happen, viewers. It was just meant to die. Yeah, not quite sure what I'm supposed to do now. So I'm going to go him. Yeah, wasn't meant to happen. Look at these things, they're just spinning round. I wonder if they're going to pick him up. They're going to pick him up. They're going to pick him up. They just span around in circles loads of times and we're going to pick him up. Gotcha! Right, let's get the chuff out of here with these torpedoes find us. What you guys have taught me. 90 degrees. Go. Maximum speed. Where's the speed button? Head flank. Change depth. So, depth. Down. Very deep. So, go that way. Disengage as well. Weapons tight. Done. Weapons hold. Turn right. Dive down. Go as fast as you can. Displace yourself away from those torpedoes. Max boom boom. Right, what's happened down here? Oh, this one just got killed. Right, so we killed this one down here, and we've managed to get into a weird submarine dogfight down here. Can we survive? Yeah, as I said, this wasn't supposed to happen. Well, it turns out, I asked the question back, could an Echo detect an SSGN that was trailing it? Yes, it does appear so. These torpedoes are being a bit weird, look. Maybe they're in some kind of hunting pattern. Maybe they're spooning left and right trying to find me. Good news is they're only 36 knots, so I can pretty much outrun this torpedo. I'm at 23 knots, which is my max speed at this depth here. I'm as low as I can. I'm as fast as I can. I'm notching those torpedoes. There's no such thing as notching. You're not enemy. I mean, we're going 90 degrees to it. We can probably turn away from it now. Look at that, viewers. We got some proper ASW, proper submarine on submarine action. I'm pretty sure I've beaten them. Bit weird, but there you go. That's the first example. Trailing the SSGNs from port. On to attempt 2, viewers. So in this case, there was no trailing submarine, so that option is not there. In this case, we're going to rely on the forward protecting Sturgeon SSNs here. So what's going to happen here is the Echoes are going to surface and prepare to fire their missiles. Now, of course, the disadvantage of an Echo, these early SSGNs, is that they had to surface, fire their missiles, and stay on the surface while they guided their missiles, which takes, 200 miles. It takes, 10 minutes or something. So they're vulnerable for those 10 minutes, possibly even longer. They've got to set their radar up, acquire the targets, blah, blah, blah. In that time, obviously, the Hawkeyes 100 miles away are going to detect them, feed that information to the carrier group, and the carrier group will attack. In this case, it will be the Sturgeon at the front here within range with his Harpoon missiles. Now, here's something interesting that you guys taught me as well. The Harpoon, which has been America's seminal anti-shipping weapon for, nearly 5 decades, now just being replaced by the AGM-158 family of missiles, designed in the 1960s, was not designed to kill ships. It was actually designed to kill submarines. In fact, it was designed to kill SSGNs, the Echo 2 type submarines. When they surfaced several tens of miles away from the carrier group or the surface fleet needed a way of quick reaction firing at those Echo 2s at whatever range it was going to be, let's say 60 miles, and hence enter the Harpoon. It can be fired from, anything. A submarine in this case can be fired from a ship. It can be fired from an aircraft. But in this case, submarines would be the first line of defense. Ahead of the SAG, receive information of the hostile Echo has just surfaced, and then snap fire a UGM-84 Harpoon, and that was the original intention of the Harpoon. Obviously, it kind of morphed over the next 40 years into what it became, a long-range anti-shipping weapon. So, really interesting stuff. So, let's run that. So, off we go again, and immediately we've spotted, or our AWACS, 100 miles away, have spotted 2 contacts. They've been told that if 2 radar contacts, surface contacts, suddenly appear in their pre-brief, that they're almost certainly going to be Echo-class SSGN surfacing to fire their missiles at the incurring US fleet, and so we have permission to attack. So we're going to designate them as hostile, and our frontmost Sturgeon is going to be the guy that is going to attack. He can fire, he can stay submerged while he fires, and we're going to take our UGM-84, let's take 2 of them and fire at him. Queue up another shot at him. Kill her. Now the hostiles were spotted at 10 minutes, so let's see what kind of reaction time we get now. "4 minutes in, and And here we go. Now that today, viewers, is our submarine. I couldn't find any way to get a red submarine to stay on the surface to be shot at. They wouldn't do it. They won't even fire their missiles. So I've had to sacrifice them temporarily for a submarine tender. Echo submarines destroyed, and it took 7.5 minutes to do it. Now, in that time, would the submarines had fired? Well, I don't know, because I don't know how long it takes to, in real life, to set the radars up and plot the missiles and whatnot. But I would expect they probably would have fired the missiles, and the missiles would be on the way. But at least the submarines, there's a good chance they would have got hit. Let me know your thoughts on that, viewers. On to our third scenario now. We're going to accept in this case that the Echoes will fire the missiles. We've got no shadowing subs from the port, and we've got no Harpoon firing subs up in front, or at least not that are going to be in firing range. So Tomcats are going to have to respond. So Tomcats would almost certainly be airborne already in a mission like this, and we're going to try and use them to shoot down the missiles that the Echoes fire. So first we'll play as the Soviets. The first thing we need to do is identify this lot. So the Victor up here is going to sit and identify them. It's going to take some time. Essentially, there's going to be a guy in that Victor listening to all the sounds that are being made, and God knows how it actually works, identifying those sounds, and he's already got one there. He's picked it out as, he doesn't know what ship it is yet, but he knows it's hostile, and to be honest, that's good enough for us. We can see how loud each ship is in relation to the Victor, and so that will do us. We know that's going to be the carrier. It's already hostile, so let's fire at it. The southernmost Echo, we're going to take the SSM-3, we're going to take all 8, and we're going to fire at it. Oh, we can find out how long it takes now. So if we're 7 minutes in now, we're starting to turn the antenna. This time probably isn't realistic, to be honest. It'll probably take longer than it looks here. Missiles go up. So it only takes a few seconds in game. Alright, let's switch sides. And there are the missiles being fired. Right, guys. I'm going to wait for them to get a little bit closer. Alright, let's do this. Never actually tried this yet, so first I'm lucky. So I'm going to go to that guy there. I'm going to ask him to aim 54, that please. That guy there, I'm going to ask him to aim 54. Oh, they all fired. Huh. Okay, fine. Of course, the aim 54 designed to do this, to shoot down these missiles. Boom! Gotcha! Nice. I mean, that missile is as big as an aeroplane, and it's non-maneuvering, so, it's going to be relatively easy. Right, let's try that guy there. I just want to get one guy. Let me just have one guy. Aim 54. That guy there. Oh, yeah. Let's try another guy here. Aim 54. That guy there. Guy there. Aim, okay, we're getting the hang of it now. Aim 54, that guy there. That guy there. Aim 54, that guy there. And so on. His missiles are very easy to see by AWACS, obviously, so no problem seeing them. Oh, a miss. A rare miss, viewers. Right. Well, that was a miss. Right there, right there. I find it exceedingly difficult to control these Tomcats. Missed. Huh. It hit it, but it didn't destroy it. Welcome to sea power. Missed. Okay, this is getting a bit boring now, to be honest. Hit it again, and it's still going. Unbelievable. And they've missed. You know what? Life's too short to keep trying to do this, but you get the idea there. You fire lots of AIM 54s, and eventually, when the damage model's working, then they blow them up. So that should be moderately easy for for a flight of 4 Tomcats. Finally, viewers, let's look at ASW helicopters and planes. So we've just spotted the 2 Echoes. I've made them neutral in the ambition to try and stop them diving, although I'm sure they'll still dive and run away. Let's launch what we need to launch. So out here we're going to launch A6 intruders. They're going to be anti-ship carrying harpoons, like that. Launch. Let's see how long it takes. We're going to need helicopters as well. Maybe we'll take off from the Belknaps. Do they have helicopters? Let's have a look. Yes, sir. Launch. And finally, Belknap. Launch. These helicopters will have anti-submarine torpedoes on them. Everything up and launched. Response time. So it was 10 o'clock when we started, when the submarines were spotted. Alright, intruders up. So, intruder over there. Submarine still surface. Lovely. That way. Let's go as fast as we possibly can. Mark 0.97. Let's go moderately high, 20,000 feet. Save a bit of fuel. Right, intruders are off now. 200 miles at their maximum speed. Helicopters, you go as well. Yeah, you go for that one there. Your maximum speed, please, sir. Can't change the speed, so we'll leave that there. And you, where are you? Where is he? There. You go for that guy there. I guess that's your max speed. Alright, go. So it started at 10 o'clock. Oh dear, 10 past 10. So we can start to see the problem by trying to intercept an Echo class that you spotted with aircraft. At best, you're going to have an intruder going at max speed. 17 minutes since it was spotted. 22 minutes. It's now reached the area where the submarine was. And pause. We are now 24 minutes in. Now, needless to say, the Echo would have fired its missiles and it would have dived again, so it's no longer vulnerable to these guys. So in terms of long-range aircraft, unless they happen to literally be in the area at that time, which maybe it's possible, you guys let me know, not much use. And helicopters have only covered a few miles. That would take them, I don't know, probably 2 hours to do 200 miles. So yeah, only so useful in terms of their response time. So viewers, let's quickly recap what we've done. My apologies that it wasn't very polished and it was a bit rushed. The reality is I have been very beautifully defunded by YouTube, and so I have to work 2 jobs now, so I only get 2 days, or literally 2 days this week, to do YouTube stuff, so everything has to be crammed within just a few minutes. There is no more preparation time. It's sad, but apparently that's what the free market wants. Viewers, we first look at trailing subs. Submarines, US SSNs, silently trailing the Soviet SSGNs, and it's brilliant. I mean, they have to, the difficulty there, in my view, is they have to be really well pre-briefed, because they can't just go to the surface and accept new orders, obviously. So they have to know exactly in advance what they're supposed to do. That, I think, would be the challenge there. How do they know dynamically what's going on the battlefield? Well, they don't, obviously, so there. Tomcat defense, well, I find Tomcats unbelievably buggy in sea power and impossible to use. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Hey, maybe it's just me, but as you saw there, most of the missiles either just missed or the damage models didn't work, so it's a bit annoying, but it showed that, they can still intercept those missiles, so that's cool. In terms of the UGM-84s, the original designation for the Harpoon being fired from submarines against SSGNs, which is really interesting, works great. I mean, you're not going to stop the Echoes firing their missiles because, it still takes minutes to get the Harpoon onto target, but you're probably going to kill the submarine, so that's good. And in terms of a long-range SSGN intercept with Helos and planes, well, unless they're already 200 miles out, they're pretty useless, right? Because even a plane flying nearly the speed of sound takes, whatever it was, 24 minutes to do 200 miles, and the submarine's going to be gone. That's it. That's what I garnered from your 468 comments. I hope I interpret it as best I can. Please let me know other feedback you want to give, and I'll see you later.